At times there's anger, but when I get mad like that, I just work out.
At first glance, Sumter High's Nathan Harris-Waynick appears to be like any other high school student athlete. Normal, a word that for most of his life has been anything but.
He has seen and lived through some things that most of us can't even imagine.
Nathan lived in and out of an orphanage called the Crosswell Children's Home for 7 years until the age of 12.
Got lonely at times. Like you don't know when you can see him again. It's sad.
With his father hardly ever being around, his mother worked multiple jobs to support him, his brother, and his sister. She did so while battling a drug addiction and abuse. Tired of going in and out of the orphanage, Nathan made a difficult choice at the age of 10, one that would later turn out to be the best decision he's ever made.
He could have gone with his family or not, and he just chose not to. And that ended up saving him from not being caught up in the system and made it where we could adopt him.
Shortly after Christmas in 2014, Nathan began living with Tripp and Wendy Waynick. Just this past February, the Waynicks officially became the legal guardians of Nathan.
They're backing me up for everything I do, and I'm just glad for that. It means everything.
It was the break he needed. You see, Nathan fell in love with football during his time in the orphanage, so much so that at the age of 6, he began doing push-ups, dreaming of one day playing football in college and in the NFL.
I wanted to make my mom and them see like I could do something.
After transferring to Sumter High for his junior year, Nathan rushed for 1,050 yards and 24 touchdowns as a backup running back.
We don't want you to feel sorry for us. We just want you to know that we're going to work. We're going to work for everything. We're going to grind.
With one more season of high school to go, Tripp has no doubt the best is yet to come for Nathan.
God has certainly prepared him for trials and tribulations and bumps in the road, and he is well prepared for a couple of things.
What a story. 12:33 here on a Tuesday afternoon, the final Tuesday before Christmas. Merry Christmas. Darren Goldwater, Jamie Bradford, and the two handsome gentlemen that are also on the screen. We'll start with Mike Uva. That was his story back in March. On the other handsome gentleman with the red cap on, that is Nathan Harris-Waynick, newest commitment to the University of South Carolina out of Sumter High School in Sumter, South Carolina. He's a Gamecock, and he's going to continue to be. And he has been kind enough to hop on and join us today. And we're going to try to have some fun here, a Christmas special with Mike and Nathan and Darren and myself. First, Nathan, we're going to get to you in just 1 second. But we want to say thank you to Mike Uva for providing that video for our program today. I know that it's 9 months ago or so that he was able to put this piece out. Mike, how did you learn about this story 9 months ago? And what have you learned since?
See, Nathan's not going to get this joke. I know you guys will laugh, and I know Wes Mitchell will laugh, but it all goes back to Village Idiot Pizza.
Oh,
it was our Nathan was honored as our weight room son hit of the week recipient. And not only did that happen in terms of Sumter getting 15 pizzas, but his father was one of the first people that reached out to us and said, hey, can we get an additional 10 pizzas? And Brian Glenn over at Village Idiot, of course, he was like, no, we'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. So when we went over there, I got Tripp's number and we stayed in contact. And then I just remember messaging Nathan and I said, hey, if there's anything I could ever do, just let me know. And that's not saying that, I'm Bill Belichick, Will Muschamp, Steve Spurrier, but just from some of the connections that I have from playing college football. And I said I wanted to be able to help him out. And we stayed in contact, from December, that off season going into the spring. And then he reached out to me in March and said, hey, look, I want to be able to get my story out there. And I think that's one of the most difficult things for a student athlete, especially at his age, to do is to say, hey, I'm comfortable sharing this. Because obviously from a reporter's standpoint, those are the stories we want to put out there because you'll get the reaction like Nathan has received, but it's not always easy. The player has to be able to feel comfortable with it. Nathan and his father and his family felt that way. They came to us, and we couldn't be more thrilled to be able to help him get that story out there.
Nathan, thank you for joining us. I'm going to read your tweet from yesterday. For those who maybe don't follow you on Twitter, they will now. Merry Christmas. I am so thankful for how God has blessed me. I got the call I've always wanted. I'm so grateful to Coach Beamer for giving me a preferred walk-on spot. I am 100% committed to Coach Beamer and the University of South Carolina. I have been accepted academically and will be enrolling in a few weeks to begin my journey as a fighting Gamecock. Go Cox, Nathan Harris-Waynick. P.S. This video is of me showing my papa, a 1972 USC grad, the news. The Waynicks bleed, garnet, and black. And we'll show that video in a minute as well, with your permission, of course, Nathan. How do you feel today, my friend? Over 50,000 views of that video.
Yeah, I feel good. Excited, real excited.
When Mike reached out to you 9 months ago, what did you think? Where were you in your career at that point in time and trying to play college football?
It was like the beginning. Not many colleges was reaching out at that time, so that's why I did that. So more colleges would start hopefully reaching out.
When did you become a Gamecock fan? You're what, 18 years old, right?
Yeah, I'm 19.
19. When did you become a Gamecock fan? When did you start going to games?
I would say like a couple years ago, several years ago.
Several years ago. Do you have like a favorite player ever in your life that played there?
Might have to be Maurice Lattimore.
I mean, it's probably pretty good. Let me ask you this. Do you have a favorite reporter?
Huh?
Do you have a favorite reporter?
I don't know.
Is it Mike Uva?
Got to be Mike Uva.
Yeah, he the top. He up there at the top 30. Nah, he the best. He the best. Yeah.
Mike, you know, you're one of the everybody knows this, and you shrug it off, but you are one of the best in the business, is no doubt, and especially in this state. One of the things that you get the most joy out of is connecting with athletes on a very personal level. How do you compare this connection you have with Nathan to others that you've covered in your career?
I think one of my favorite things is being able to do, not just do stories, but especially stories on football. And I don't know if I've said this on your program before, and I don't know if I've told this to Nathan, but a lot of people that do know me know that if I wasn't in the profession that I'm in right now, I would have followed the profession of coaching college football. And it's something that's really meant a lot to me. And being able to share stories, especially football players, is so important because everyone has a story, right? Everyone has a story, and not everyone's, road to success is all sunshine and rainbows. And Nathan has been able to show that, and being able to put your head down, especially through a tough year. And I think that's one of the things that I'll always remember and look back at in terms of this story, is that here's a guy going into his senior year. He doesn't have the scholarship opportunities that some of these, blue chip players, some of these big name guys have. And he's going into a year where things are so unknown. He doesn't even know if he's going to have a high school football season, right? He's not able to do the visits that some of these other athletes have the opportunities to do in terms of the past. It's just a tough situation. But I can tell you from that moment that we did that interview through just going back to the summer. I mean, he won he won an award this past summer at a football camp when the Holinsky, I don't remember the exact name, Nathan, you'll have to correct me. But I know the Holinsky's Hope was involved with that, and it was basically sharing this story he did. And that helped him get a scholarship on top of that. So he's always been positive. He's always just put his head down. And I think that's what Gamecock fans are going to love about him more than anything. He's a guy that can go into a locker room and he can change the culture, because if they need him to be on special teams, and I don't want to speak for Nathan, but I can tell you this, he'll smile and he'll do it. And players around him will see that. And that changes cultures. So I just cannot wait to be able to see him put that garnet and black helmet on, because I know this is something that he's always dreamed of. And he's just been, I can't tell you how good of a kid he is, though. And I don't want to say kid. I know he's a young man, but he is just such a good person, and he comes from such a great family. And I know Nathan will probably talk about this briefly, but it's only fitting that about 6 years ago, they brought him into their family. And I mean, you want to talk about an early Christmas present. I mean, just give me chills thinking about it.
Let me ask you this, Nathan. You going through that story and watching Mike Uva's piece, the one thing that really hit a chord with me was you made a decision when you were 10.
Yeah.
10. You made a decision that you believed, and it's turned out to be true, to be in the best interest of you, to go in a different direction than your family. Do you remember that time? How clearly is that still in your memory, and how much is it driving you on a day-to-day basis?
It drives me a lot. Like, that's one of the main reasons why I why I want to keep doing good right now. I'm gonna make. That's why. That's why this means a lot to me right now.
When Shane Beamer when did you first speak to Shane Beamer, Nathan?
I would say like last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago.
What did he say to you?
He had called me. He talked to me about how he watched my film, and he talked to Coach Barnes and Coach Barnes told him that I was a good player and stuff like that. He said he was trying to get me up there.
And is that when he asked you, would you like to come play football for South Carolina? How did he ask that question?
Coach Beamer?
Yes, sir.
How do you ask that question? He said that he watched my film and he talked to Coach Barnes, and that's when he said that he wanted me to be up there with him.
What was your response? What did you say?
Oh, I said no doubt.
Well, can I read you a couple of comments? Can I read you something?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is what people are saying. Love those guys who love the Gamecocks and have a little chip on their shoulder. Do you have a chip on your shoulder?
Got to.
You got to,
You
right?
got to.
This is an awesome story. Maybe Disney will pick this up. I wish nothing but the best for this guy. He has faced adversity and still has a positive outlook in life. He'll definitely make an impact on the state of South Carolina. That is truly awesome. Go Nathan. Go Gamecocks. This is the most excitement I've seen about a preferred walk-on player ever. He has a great story. Great story. Looks to be a tough runner. Hard to bring down. Best part, he wants to be a Gamecock. I could keep going, but we don't have all day. You don't know any of these people. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it means a lot. It means a lot.
When you play football, what do you think about when you're out there? I know that I get it. All right, guy's about to tackle you. You got to sidestep him and run to the. Okay, I know you're thinking about that. What else do you think about? What drives you when you're on the gridiron?
Honestly, I don't really think. I just go out there and play and have fun.
Go ahead.
Whenever you start thinking, you ain't having that much fun because you're just too busy thinking. So I try not to think on the field. I just play.
Mike, he'd be good in media, wouldn't he? You can't think when you're doing this. You just have to talk.
No, and let me say this, because I remember I shot his dad a text this morning, and I don't want to put Nathan on the spot here. He's like, well, we know Nathan sometimes can be shy at first. I wouldn't say, Nate, I'm one of Nathan's boys. I don't want to get into and disrespect his friends. He's probably too cool to hang out with me anyway. But I know that, the more that you're around Nathan, the more that he opens up. And, he is as humble as they get. Mason Zandy just put a tweet. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, Nathan, but he remembers the game that he did with Watch Fox, the Friday Night Rivals from a couple of years ago. And he said that Nathan was the only player during his time doing those games as color commentator that he went up to after the game and said something to. And I think moments like that, especially when you hear that from former Gamecocks, that should get you excited as a Gamecock fan. And in terms of just seeing, everything that he went through, not only just in his past, but especially just this year, I just think it speaks volumes in terms of just never saying no, and I think that's kind of been Nathan's MO his entire life. But to be able to do it in a year like this, where there's just so many unknowns, and as Nathan just alluded to, he got this opportunity last week. I remember getting the text message from his dad last week, and I'm getting kind of choked up right now. When I got that text message last night that you were going to put that message out, I was just blown away just because he did everything the right way. And I've only known Nathan for a short period of time, but everything that you're seeing right now in terms of him being in front of the camera, everything that he's talked about in terms of tweets online in the past, that is 1,000% him. He is authentic to the T, and he is just one of the most humble, hardworking people that I've met during my my 5 seasons of covering high school football in South Carolina.
Nathan, talk about your family, if you don't mind. Obviously, we've seen the video of your grandfather, who's a 1972 South Carolina graduate. Your family, you've alluded to the fact that they're major Gamecock fans. I spoke with you on the phone this morning. For those that are wondering, I'm sorry, I'm going to give this information away, Nathan. You're going to have to deal with it, my friend. But they do sit in the south end zone, so people will be able to congratulate them, unless they're all sitting in the parent section next year, which would be a pretty good spot to be in, certainly. But tell me about your family and this type of support you've received from them over the last 9 or so years.
I love them to death. They my everything. Like, they behind me. They were always behind me to do anything, no matter what. Like, that's a big thing. 'Cause I can look on the sidelines on Friday nights and see all of them there. That's a big thing for me.
In the video with your grandfather, he's clearly wearing a Carolina sweatshirt. I mean, has this been Carolina? I mean, in your heart and in your soul for the last couple of years? I mean, is there a place you could have imagined being better than South Carolina?
No, sir. No. I mean, it's close to home. We Carolina, 100% no.
You said Marcus Lattimore was your favorite player. Have you ever met Marcus?
Yes, sir. I met him. I can't remember how long ago it was. It was several years ago. I was at Wilson Hall. I just got done playing. I was on JV at Wilson Hall, and he was watching somebody on. I think he was watching somebody on varsity or something, and I saw him and went and talked to him.
What did you say to him? What did he say to you?
I told him I was playing, and I told him I was playing football and I was running back, and I told him to keep an eye out for me, and told him my name, and he said he was gonna keep watching me.
Have you heard from Marcus in the last 24 hours?
No, not yet, but I probably will.
I think you will, probably sooner than you think. What do you want to tell Gamecock fans about you? What do they need to know about you? Look, you're a walk-on. I got a feeling it's not going to be for much longer at some point in time. But what do fans need to know about you?
I'm a hard worker. I'm gonna make plays.
You love that school like they love it?
Sir.
When you look at that running back room, what do you see? How do you fit into that group?
Talent. I see talent.
Kevin Harris was named a second-team All-SEC guy today. What do you think about that? Should have been a first-teamer?
Yes, I know you should have been first team. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Have you spoken with any of the guys in the locker room? I mean, has a guy like Harris reached out to you?
Nah, but hopefully he does. But one of my boys from somehow he plays O'Donnell Fortune. He's on defense. He plays up there. I called him last night. We had talked about it.
What did he say?
He told me he was excited for me to be working with him, me to be up there with him.
Mike, I want to bring Mike back into this conversation here. Mike, I
have nothing to do with this. I just put the thing together. Nathan's the one that put all the talent. You don't want to talk to some D2 has-been.
Yeah, but assumption.
Assumption. Yeah, by the way, Brian Kelly got the stadium named after him. I know so many people love Brian Kelly probably in the South, but back to the story.
Well, but you did put all this together this morning, because I shot you a text at about 7:30. And it was a Twitter message. I didn't want to wake Mike from his beauty sleep. But he was up, believe it or not. Mike, before the high school season, remember back at the end of the summer, right? Mm-hmm. Things were in flux, and we didn't know if we would see high school football. Did you think about Nathan Harris-Waynick and what that could mean to this young man if he can't compete in high school football his senior year?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many guys I think of in particular, because you meet some of these athletes in terms of just their journey. I know Perry Orth has done a lot with players over the last couple of years since he finished up his career at USC. And I remember going out and covering some of those events that he's done, those quarterback clinics and camps. And, you start thinking about those athletes, whether or not they're going to get an opportunity. So I think, with Nathan, like I said, being able to meet him a year ago, and I don't care what he does. He can win a Heisman Trophy. He's always going to be a weight room son first. That's the first thing that you have to put in front of the name. What a former weight room son recipient. I mean, that's the most important. Heisman, this national. No, that's the most important. So I think just being able to meet him a year ago and just seeing him grow, I think that's one of the cool things too. And just in terms of just being able to cover high school athletes, in terms of just being here for a couple of years, you see them grow. And to be able to see him now go on to South Carolina, regardless of whatever my career is in terms of how long I'll be down here, I'm always going to be cheering for him just because he's a likable guy. And I know that this is something that he's dreamt of. And it's just crazy to think now that the stars lined up just the right way, even despite all the craziness. Because if he was in a state like my home state, Massachusetts, maybe he doesn't have a football season this year. How does that change things? Or what if Will Muschamp still was here, or in terms of just when things moved around in terms of getting rid of him? Not saying Will Muschamp wouldn't bring him on, but it's just crazy to think of just how everything lined up for him to be able to get to this point. And like I said, I did the story, but this is his story. And, I just want to sit back and listen to Nathan. I know Nathan loves talking. So, Nathan, you can say everything else you want, man. I mean, but I will say this. I will say this, though, about Nathan. And I don't know if he'll mention this. It was at one of those football clinics. He can down some pizza, man. He can down some pizza. Nathan, I saw you down some pizza in the court.
I've got a feeling since Nathan's going to be moving to Columbia in January as an early enrollee, he will probably end up at the Village Idiot at some point in time.
No, as long as if he's enrolled, I can't. I don't want to get the NCAA in trouble. And if he does, Nathan paid for everything. He paid for absolutely everything. I don't need Steve Fink or Ray Tanner giving me a call. He paid for everything. He paid for everyone else's meals too.
We're not saying we're buying. We're just saying.
I know. But you know how things get clipped around sometimes on the internet. So I'm just putting that out there. I want to make sure that Nathan is free from everything, and that Ray Tanner doesn't call me, because that's the last thing I need.
Nathan, what are the names of your family members? Your dad, your mom, your brothers, sisters. What are their names?
My pops, his name Trip Waynick. My mom, Wendy Waynick. My little brother is Harry. His name Harold. We call him Harry though. And then Kendall and May. We call her May. Her name is Mary Ellis. We call her May though.
Hey, that's okay. My daughter's name is Riley May, and I call her May every day.
How many people are in the family? The picture when you were officially a part of the family, I lost count. How many people are in that family or the extended family?
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. Do you have to buy all them Christmas presents? I hope this is the only Christmas present you're giving them this year.
Yeah, I feel like it's a big enough Christmas present.
Are they in the room right now?
Nah, my pops and mom they in a different room.
Ask them to come around behind you so we can say hello to them. Please.
All right. I think they come.
Okay.
Very good.
We would like to make sure that we get to say hello.
And we'll clip this and send it to you as well. So you'll have this.
Yeah. Well, look, we know that
we got to take this out. I think
We've got to make good up there. There you go.
There you go. Okay.
I don't know if that mic works or not.
Little feedback.
There he is. Dad. Hey, Mom. Hi.
Let me hold one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
What do you want to say publicly about this young man?
I'm kind of a weenie when it comes to stuff like this. I'm a softy, but anyway, this he's a fighter, man. He's a fighter, and if you watch him play, and he's not a track star, but I tell you what, that sucker can get this. He can get the yards, and he's got a nose to the goal line. So, but all that don't matter. He's just going to be. I just want him to be a good human, and he is. And so, just we're blessed to have the opportunity to share our life. We didn't know our family was missing a Nathan, but man, once we got it, it's like now we're, if he's gone, it's like last night he spent the night at Justice Boone's house, and it's like this doesn't seem right. We're short one, but it's cool.
Okay, you can always invite Justin to come back to Carolina. Come home whenever you want. Justin's a great player. Great player.
What the car out for that? But
was there ever a point in his career over the last few years where you thought, there might be more to this football thing for Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, in the 7th or 8th grade, that's what I thought. But it's just been hard, man. It's been hard. This year's so jacked up. I mean, he had all kind of camps lined up, and at Sumter High, because of there's 4 or 5 guys over there going Power 5. So last year at spring practice, you had Georgia, Florida, Carolina, North Carolina. They were there every day. They were there weekly, and so. So yeah, but we thought it was going to be different. Then the whole pandemic hit, and then, man, it's been a tough. I'm gonna tell you, that phone and Twitter has been. I mean, it's been slow, really, really slow, and then it just all happened. The Lord worked it out. It all happened right at one time.
When those coaches were there at practice and things like that, what went through both of your minds? I mean, was there any pressure, or did you even notice them? I mean, I know you noticed them, but did you notice them more than?
But the way it worked was Nathan had just transferred from a small private school, so he couldn't practice. All he could do is stand and watch. So, I mean, the guys were talking to him. I think it was the North Carolina coach. They were, but they were just looking at a kid standing on the sideline. So then once he started playing, he got a little more interest. And but then this year we had, like I say, this summer, man, we had the whole summer we were making the road show, and it just got all canceled.
Right. And that the difficulty of that, as you know, that is the same position that thousands of young men have been in, and the position they've been in. It's been remarkable. We only have a couple of minutes left here, but Mike Uva he's the one guy who isn't comfortable in front of a camera. Well, Darren too. Darren works for CBS. Mike, of course, watch Fox. These guys, they love I can't stand the camera. I'm in your camp. But what would you like to say, Dad, to Mike? I mean, he obviously has a spot in his heart for your family, and you've been on his radar for about a year. I know you speak to him, but publicly, what would you say to him?
Mike does things he doesn't have to do. So, I mean, he's successful. He's going to be wildly successful, obviously, going forward. And I would submit he's wildly successful now from my perspective. But so he does things he doesn't have to do, which is that's what this world needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to look alike. We don't have to say, I mean, he's a Yankee. I'm a redneck.
That's right.
and it works out. So I just think if this world could, if you disagree with somebody, doesn't mean that you hate them. And Mike just goes out of his way to help, Yeah. I mean, that day he came over there to Apex when he did that thing. It was hot, and it was just started COVID, and he was looking at his phone, like waiting on him to get, they didn't know what was going to happen. Were they going to close the sports department down? Well, he had to go run to this press conference. And it was just, but he took his time. That was a hectic day for Mike. But he took his time and really poured his heart and soul into it. So it's just, he goes the extra mile, and I think people get rewarded for that, whether it's on this side of eternity or not. But I think people absolutely get rewarded for that kind of work.
I can speak directly to you about this because my family is the same as yours. Our generations bleed garnet and black, and we've sat in the south end zone since they moved us there in 1996 from the north end zone where you sit.
Right.
Maybe not anymore, though. You might be in the parent section moving forward. But, one of the best things in my life that we get to see 7 times a year, this year 5, but 7 generally, is at the end of 2001 when that team runs out of the tunnel. They come through the smoke, and it doesn't really matter what's going to happen on the field that day. It eventually matters, but at that point in time, it doesn't. All that matters is you get to see something it's a part of your family, you feel like, which is about 100 guys running out of a tunnel onto the field, and there's 80,000+ people cheering for them. When your son runs out of that tunnel, Dad, what will you feel for the first time?
Honestly, for my daddy to be there, my daddy's. I remember Mike Hold at Clemson 22-21. I was there. Yeah. So but I don't, man. There's no words for my daddy. That's all. Just to be there with him when a Waynick runs out that tunnel, that's going to be freaking awesome. Awesome.
And that was your dad in the video, correct?
Yeah.
Over 50,000 people have watched that video in less than 24 hours.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm telling you, we didn't say, because he's got That's all he has is Carolina sweatshirt. So we just went over there. He knew we'd been talking, but he didn't know. And I told him it was very frustrating, the whole admissions thing, which I ain't going to get on that. But admissions was tough. He got good grades, but just getting through. And it was compressed time frame to their defense. But we didn't know we had the Carolina shirt on, and he was going to react like that. So it just worked out. So it's cool. It's a real long video. I had to cut down a snippet.
Well, you got it. You got it right. As a parent, what was your first impression of Shane Beamer?
Dude, I'm gonna tell you something. As a parent and as a Gamecock, we got somebody we can pull for. I'm telling you, they might not win a dang ball game, but we got somebody we can pull for. It is a whole different. Talking to him was just like talking to you guys. It was just a regular guy. You can hear his kids in the background. He's just a dad. I mean, just now again. They get paid to win, and I get it. But I tell you what, it'll be a whole lot easier to go to send that check we got to send every year to sit in them seats.
Well, it is my prayer that one day you don't have to write another check to South Carolina, sir. And we certainly thank you for your time, Nathan. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked your dad. What will you feel the first time you run out of that tunnel?
Like dream come true.
Mm-hmm. You can scream when you come out of that tunnel, and nobody will be able to hear you. So scream as loud as you want to. Okay, I know you're a quiet, humble guy, but
he's not around his boys, just around grown-ups. Not around his boys.
We're not real grown-ups. It's okay.
No. We're all kids at heart. Well, we have to let you go on that note, and I know that we've kept you for a long time. We were going to do this for about 15 minutes, but there was no way that 15 minutes ago we were going to be able to get off of this call. But to the Waynick family, we wish you not just the merriest of Christmases, but all of the blessings to in the future with now a Gamecock football player, but just as people. You seem like a wonderful group of people. I spoke with Nathan on the phone this morning, and I told him he now has my number, and if I can ever do anything very similar to Mike Cuba, I'll do it. You just pick up the phone and call us. We're all one big family around here, and we're going to pull for you moving forward. But I hope that this Christmas present was the greatest blessing you ever had in your lives, and we wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to keeping in touch with you in the future.
Thank y'all for helping these kids out. That's what it's all about, and we appreciate it.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
JB, can I say something real quick before they leave?
Yes, absolutely.
I just found out that Marcus Lattimore has been informed about this. So don't be shocked to hear from Mr. Lattimore soon, Nathan.
Awesome.
There you go.
I'll send y'all the picture. What Nathan's talking about. We got a picture of him. He's like in the 8th grade. I'll shoot that to
you. God bless you all. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for your time.
Merry Christmas, you too.
Thank you. Mike?
Yes.
Thank you for getting all this together, my friend. Real quick before we let you run, can you update us on the Gamecock football program and the bowl game this weekend?
Oh, geez. Well, the latest right now, and I know you guys alluded to it before, but yesterday, yes, they did not have practice. And then around, I'd say, let's see, maybe 10:30, I got an update that Saturday's bowl game for South Carolina could be in jeopardy, according to team sources, COVID contact tracing. And I will say this, because I don't want to give the specifics because I was asked not to, but it is something that is affecting one side of the ball more than the other, and it's not just players. So we will wait and see in terms of how those tests come back, because like I said, I don't want to get into some of those details that I was asked not to, but at the same time too, I think it's important to be able to at least let people know what's going on over there, and that this could be something that hopefully, if those tests come back negative, South Carolina will be okay to be able to play. But regardless, I mean, they're going to be heading into a game on Saturday, really not having any practices at all. So everyone talks about extra practices. There you go. I mean, you might have you had 1 day of practice, 2 days of practice. So fingers crossed. I have no updates right now in terms of how that meeting went. But practice is scheduled for this afternoon, I believe around 3:00. But I don't have any updates as of right now if that's been canceled following this team meeting.
At least chasing down leads and stuff isn't as tough as shoveling snow back.
Oh, it's easy. It's easier to run around. I mean, I can hide behind, people have been sending me all the GIFs and stuff of me hiding at South Carolina's op building, behind bushes. I mean, there's no snow, so I can move around.
Exactly.
Real quick on the basketball team, any news with Frank and the boys?
Yeah, I mean, right now it doesn't look like they're going to be playing until at least conference play against Kentucky, and that's trying to be as optimistic as you can. You look at just the timeline in terms of what happened with Houston and when they played them, and they really haven't been able to play since then. So I think, right now it's more of a precaution more than anything. And hopefully we'll be able to see South Carolina get back on the court very soon. But it's just, it's just unfortunate. But that's just the world that we're living in. This is the reality that we're in right now in terms of tracing, in terms of, quarantine. So I'm optimistic that South Carolina will be getting on the court soon. But just like anything, you have a bunch of different guys on that team, and they could just be caught in a scenario with tracing, the contact tracing. So hopefully that won't be an issue for South Carolina moving forward. But unless they go into a bubble format like the NBA and the NHL did last year, I just don't know how you can avoid it, because it's inevitable. You have to go outside. You're not going to be bubble boy.
Yep. Right. It's unfortunate for both programs right now. It looks like it could be some real thin ice for Gamecock football to play in Tampa this Saturday, but we'll find out. We're going to keep an eye on Mike, and I'll keep in touch with Mike as well and see what more information we can get out in the next hour before we're out of here. We got to let you run on that note, Mike Uva, but look here, man, thank you. More thanks than I could probably give for facilitating this really fun interview today with Nathan Harris-Waynick and his family, and you and Darren and all of us. This has been a lot of fun. As I mentioned before, you're one of the best out there at what you do, and you are and probably an even better guy, I would say. And we wish you and your family the merriest of Christmases as well. I hope you get a day or two just to kind of hang out and relax before getting back to the grind. But thank you so much for all you do.
No, I appreciate it. And ironically, before I even found out that this was going to be happening with Nathan yesterday, for our end of the year Sports Zone special that will air on Christmas Eve. So I believe that's Thursday night. One of the stories that we picked to re-air is going to be Nathan's story. So if people want to be able to sit back on the couch on Christmas Eve at 11 o'clock on Watch Fox, they can be able to do that, or they can stream it on WACH.com as well that night.
Awesome. Okay, streaming. Yeah, guys, I'm about to ask you about that. WACH. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Have a wonderful day, my friend. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you guys too. Appreciate it.
There you go. Mike Uva with Watch Fox. What a fun interview. I know that he's a very humble, quiet young man, but sometimes you don't have to say a lot to get the message across.
No, it's an incredible story. It's awesome what you did to follow up on that story and to be, to get that story out. But as he said, I don't know how many times, the story's about Nathan and what Nathan was able to accomplish despite a brick wall in front of him that most of us don't ever have and can't imagine having in front of us. And he burst straight through that thing with hardships we can't imagine. And now he's essentially living out a dream of playing for the Gamecocks. It's a great story.
Remarkable story. A Christmas special, no doubt about that.